Will somebody tell me if we're supposed to start the program?
Freeman hits the ball. Right field.
Into right field. She is gone. Oh, what a pass. Doncic, perfection there on the assist.
A little magic from Doncic.
Stafford takes the shoulder, takes a shot downfield. It is caught by Nakua. He picked him on his shoulder and made the catch.
One of a kind player. One of a kind season. Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
Dumping in on the count. LeBron James at the buzzer.
This game's in the Admiral refrigerator. The door is closed, the lights out. Butter's getting hard, the eggs are cooling, and the jello is jiggling.
What's up, guys, and welcome to the LA Sports Roundup podcast. I'm your host, Mike Andrade, sitting here recording live Wednesday, December 17th, 2025. I hope you guys are having a great holiday season so far. It feels like Thanksgiving was yesterday, and we are just on the cusp of Christmas. I hope you guys have plans that are going to be well and safe and fun for everyone. Hopefully Mariah Carey hasn't beaten you with the hammer going into do your Christmas shopping into the malls, into the stores, and hopefully that song hasn't just drilled a hole through your head already. But we are not here to talk about Mariah Carey. We're here to talk all things LA sports and what a year it has been in LA sports. We're going to deep dive into the year in 2025 of LA sports. But before we get into today's podcast, I want to let you guys know last week we recorded on our Wrestling with Ryan podcast. We recorded an all John Cena podcast that is up in the archives, and upcoming we'll record another Wrestling with Ryan talking about everything that happened in John Cena's last match and everything that needs to be discussed on that front. And also, before we begin today's podcast, we're going to pay a little bit of bills here. And today's podcast is being brought to you by DistilUnion.com. Distil Union crafts sleek, problem-solving essentials like Wally wallets and Ferris key organizers designed with a less is more philosophy. Their durable, intuitive products simplify everyday routines with style. Enjoy an exclusive discount with my promo code LACEEMUP at checkout. That's LACEEMUP. Lace them up when you go to checkout. Do not miss this opportunity to save big on men's accessories like wallets and keychains and other things at DistilUnion.com. That's DistilUnion.com. When thinking about the year 2025 in the landscape of the history of LA sports, I feel like this year is going to stand out among one of the best years in total of LA sports history. From Luka Doncic being traded to the LA Lakers in February to the Dodgers winning back-to-back World Series championships in October, I do not think there is another year comparable in terms of the things that have happened this year in LA sports. So this is what I want to do. I want to do a little year-end review of what's happened in pro sports here in Los Angeles. We're going to go month by month, and we're going to recap what has happened, the big major storylines that has happened this year in LA sports. So, unfortunately, at the beginning of this year, in January, Santa Barbara County and the Pacific Palisades were stricken by a devastating wildfire all throughout Santa Barbara County, heading into Los Angeles County, and it really devastated thousands upon thousands of people. Hundreds of homes were destroyed alongside the Pacific Palisades, and then heading into the Altadena, Pasadena area here in Los Angeles County. And it was a horrific scene, probably one of the worst wildfires we've ever had here in Los Angeles County and Southern California. And it was true devastation for a lot of people. A lot of people lost homes, a lot of people lost everything, and it was very, very unfortunate for the people that were stricken by these wildfires. While people and businesses were scrambling on what to do next, there was still sports to be played, and the NFL playoffs were just beginning. The wild card series was beginning for the LA Rams. They took on the Minnesota Vikings in their wild card matchup on January 13th, 2025. The Rams had finished the 2024 season 10-7, and they had earned themselves a home playoff game in the wild card game against the Minnesota Vikings, but they couldn't play it at SoFi Stadium due to the wildfires. But graciously, the Arizona Cardinals were able to open up their stadium in Arizona to welcome the Rams to play their home game against the Minnesota Vikings in Arizona. About 400 people, including family and staff, traveled with the Rams to play their wild card game, and it was quite the scene. You had a lot of fans coming out from Los Angeles to make the drive to Arizona to support the Rams, and it was almost like we were playing at SoFi Stadium in itself. I mean, a lot of true Rams supporters came and made the drive to Arizona to support the Rams, and it was what the Rams needed in that game. The Rams would end up blowing out the Minnesota Vikings in that game 27-9, and it was a true blowout from beginning to finish as Matthew Stafford, he threw for 209 yards with 19 of 27 attempts with 2 touchdowns, leading the Rams to victory and heading on into the next round of the playoffs. Then 1 week later in the divisional round matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles in the snow in Philadelphia, the Rams lost a heartbreaker to the Philadelphia Eagles 28-22, a game in which they trailed behind late in the fourth quarter but were unable to make that final push to take the lead. They were seemingly almost ready to do so as Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford made some late game heroics down the end there. But it was not to be. It was in the snow. It was a tough game, and the Rams were eventually eliminated from postseason contention. But a successful season for the Rams in total. It's a season where they finished 10-7 after starting 0-2 on the season, and a season where they had to climb up and make postseason contention. So, in my eyes, a very successful season for the Rams, ultimately losing to the better team, which was the Philadelphia Eagles that season. Now we're in February. This is where shit hit the fan all over the NBA, especially because it has to do with the Lakers and it has to do with us trading for Luka Doncic. So February 1st is here. The Lakers are playing pretty good basketball around this point. I forget what their record is, but I believe it was maybe on January 1st heading into February 1st that night, whichever the date was. They played the New York Knicks inside Madison Square Garden without Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis had just got hurt a couple games prior to that. I believe his last game as a Laker was against the Philadelphia 76ers. They were on that Grammy trip, I believe. But that was AD's last game for the Lakers, and he got hurt. And Lakers played a couple games, therefore, without him. But the Lakers are playing actually surprisingly good basketball considering Anthony Davis was out. But things are clicking. LeBron was looking like LeBron. Players are coming together. Max Christie, they had previously the month before traded for Dorian Finney-Smith. This is J.J. Redick's first season with the Lakers. And things are kind of just coming together for the Lakers. They're playing all right. And Austin Reeves, he said on a podcast, like that night, he talked to LeBron James, and he basically said, like, hey, yeah, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. And then it hit. February 1st, after that game inside Madison Square Garden, players are checking their phones, and that's when news breaks. News in which nobody is believing, and everyone thinks Shams has gotten hacked because what they saw, they couldn't see what they were reading here, that the Lakers had traded Anthony Davis and Max Christie to the Dallas Mavericks for Luka Doncic. Everyone thought that was fake news. Everyone thought Shams had gotten hacked, and nobody could believe it. Everyone for about a good maybe 15-20 minutes around there were just like, no, that's not true. They were in denial about it. Even I was. I remember that was the evening after the Royal Rumble. We were watching the Royal Rumble at my house. My friend Ryan, who you guys know from Wrestling with Ryan, texted me that we traded for Luka. I looked at my phone and I was like, I don't even know what the hell he's talking about, because there's no way on God's green earth that the Lakers are going to be trading for Luka Doncic. But come to figure, it's true. It's true. ESPN reports it. It's all over the place, and it's very stunning news. For about a split second, you feel kind of like, what, we traded Anthony Davis? But then the realization kind of came over me, thinking, wow, we have Luka. We have Luka Doncic. How do Like, how did this even happen? How did we even get here? How did the Dallas Mavericks decide to trade this guy, their franchise guy? I tell people all the time that what Kobe Bryant meant to the Lakers, Luka was heading there for the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, people loved him. People adored Luka. People were obsessed with Luka in Dallas. That was their man. That's what kids grew up with. And for them to suddenly just trade him out of nowhere, it was stunning. It was truly stunning, considering the fact that they had just went to the NBA Finals. They just went to the NBA Finals, and you can understand why. And then obviously reports came in following days after that, about how the Mavericks and Nico Harrison were upset with Luka's training habits and eating habits. He came into the season out of shape, and then he got injured. So Nico Harrison basically went into business for himself and decided to trade Luka. Obviously, he needed the approval from ownership, and he got the approval. He sold them on this idea that defense wins championships. He sold them. He sold I don't really think there's much trying to sell the Lakers on Luka Doncic. It's freaking Luka. You have an opportunity to trade for Luka, you do it. But there's not much selling there, but in his eye, he had to sell us on Luka Doncic, and the Lakers were like, okay, yeah, I'll take it. Well, take it. We'll give you Anthony Davis. Yeah, we'll give you Max Christie. That's a fair enough trade. And in all God's honesty, they should have waited out. They should have pitched. I mean, they should have made this known where teams could have given the farm for Luka Doncic instead of just holding the secret tightly. In which the way it happened with Rob Pelinka and Nico Harrison, I think them meeting up for coffee and then telling themselves like, oh, let's keep this our little secret. That's the way it happened. It shouldn't have happened that way. But the Lakers end up trading for Luka Doncic in a stunning fashion on February 1st, and it changes the landscape of the NBA. Luka would make his Lakers debut on February 11th, and they would beat the Jazz, but it would take Luka some time to get fully back in shape for the rest of the month. Then going into March, the Dodgers opened up their 2025 season in Tokyo, Japan against the Chicago Cubs for a 2-game series over there in Tokyo. And what a 2 games it was for the Dodgers to open up the series over there. A very, very special 2 games, because not only was it out of their own realm of opening up the season in the United States, but for them to have players like Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto and Sasaki now on the team. Very special for those players to come to Japan and be able to perform in front of their home fans. And so the home fans in Japan were adoring the baseball that was being played, adoring both the Dodgers and the Cubs. They put on a spectacle, like it was the World Series. I had seen nothing like it for opening week in baseball, but the Dodgers ended up sweeping the Cubs in a 2-game series, and it was a great way for the Dodgers to start the regular season. The Dodgers would end up doing their ring ceremony on March 28th against the Detroit Tigers, an emotional night at Dodger Stadium celebrating the 2024 World Series championship. Also in March, the Rams would end up signing Davante Adams to a contract. A surprising move by Les Snead and all of the Rams organization, bringing in Davante Adams, signifying that the Rams are really trying to go for it, coming off their playoff appearance against the Eagles. Davante Adams, clearly, as you guys know, has been working out for the Rams pretty damn good so far, and it's been a really, really good signing. Now jumping to April, both the Clippers and the Lakers would make playoff pushes. The Lakers would end up getting the number 3 seed in the Western Conference at 50-32. And there was a 3-team tie between the Lakers, Nuggets, and Clippers, all at 50-32. The Clippers would end up with the number 5 seed, and the Nuggets with the number 4 seed. That meant the Clippers and the Nuggets would face each other in the first round of the NBA playoffs, and the Clippers, with Kawhi Leonard surprisingly healthy, they actually made a pretty good first round appearance, although they would lose in the first round against the Denver Nuggets. It was pretty surprising the way Kawhi Leonard turned back the clock in some ways. Alongside James Harden, they pushed the Denver Nuggets to 7 games, a series in which nobody thought it would go 7, but the Nuggets would end up closing out the series in 7, and along went the Clippers bye-bye like always in the playoffs. Now with the Lakers didn't have a great playoff. They were the number 3 seed. They were the home team against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and nothing went right for the Lakers in this series. Although they were the home team, they were not the better team whatsoever. The Minnesota Timberwolves ended up ousting the Lakers in 5 games in the first round in pretty disappointing fashion if you're a Laker fan. I mean, it was pretty evident by the time Game 5 rolled around that the Lakers were just not going to win the series whatsoever, mainly because of the size. Rudy Gobert on the Timberwolves had his way. And when I mean had his way, he was able to eat his lunch, breakfast, dinner, a midnight snack, all in the paint, and just grab rebounds and putbacks and dunks and alley-oops, anything he wanted in that Game 5, and it really cost the Lakers to not have size. And it wasn't their fault really, because they had traded away Anthony Davis for Luka, and they were left with Jackson Hayes at center, and they couldn't really fill in that spot. They tried with Mark Williams, but that didn't go the way they wanted, because he never even came to the Lakers after the Lakers rescinded that trade. And so it cost them, really, just in terms of size. And so the Lakers were out in 5 games, and the Timberwolves were on their way. But the Lakers and the Clippers did make playoffs appearances in April. And I think, for the Lakers, it was signifying, hey, look, what happened here, that's okay, because we have Luka Doncic. And Luka's going to hopefully carry us the next 10 years if he signs an extension and beyond that as well. For the Clippers, it wasn't so much. The Clippers were looking at it as a sigh of relief because they finally got Kawhi Leonard back healthy, but there wasn't really too much optimism remaining around the Clippers as there is for the Lakers. Now jumping ahead to May. Now, when I tell you LA Angel fans were insufferable this month, I mean, insufferable doesn't even begin to imagine how insufferable they were, because this is the month of May where the Dodgers got swept by the LA Angels in the 3-game series, and my God, did the Angel fans, I mean, this was their World Series. This was their World Series. Obviously, they were never going to reach the World Series at any point, but this was their World Series in terms of them being able to claim that they swept the Dodgers in May. I mean, my God, raise up the banner. Put up the banner in Angel Stadium. Where's the parade? I thought there was going to be a parade, considering how much celebrating and boasting and just everything you can imagine from Angels fans celebrating the fact that they swept the Dodgers. I mean, this was it for them. This was it. They swept the Dodgers. I mean, there's nothing left in society to ever do in life than for the Angels to sweep the Dodgers. My God. Also in May, the LA Kings of the NHL were eliminated by the Edmonton Oilers for the 4th consecutive year in a row in the first round of the NHL playoffs. Another year of progress for the LA Kings, but also another year of stagnation as well. Much of the LA sports news in the month of June were quiet. The Dodgers went 17-10 in the month of June, and the Dodgers were on pace to again win the NL West. But in the month of July, things kind of fell apart for the Dodgers. The Dodgers ended up going 10-15 in the month of July, and also their lead in the NL West got pretty much eviscerated by that point, and they were struggling to hang on to that lead, with the Padres right on their backs. Also in the month of July, the Lakers made some news, signing free agents Jake LaRavia, DeAndre Ayton, and Marcus Smart. All very much key additions to what the Lakers needed to fill in terms of filling their spots going into the off-season, and definitely building around Luka Doncic and LeBron James. Now in the month of August, the LA Rams were getting ready to start their summer training camps at Loyola Marymount University, but they were going to do so without their QB1 Matthew Stafford, who was out basically all of their training camp and into the preseason with a back injury, and people didn't know whether this back injury was going to keep him out an extended amount of the regular season or not, because it was pretty serious going into training camp. He didn't really practice at all. I remember going to training camp at LMU with my family, and people were just talking about, they didn't know when to expect Matthew Stafford to come back. And so his back injury seemed pretty serious. Now back to the Dodgers. The Dodgers ended up getting a lot of their reinforcements back. Back in July, they got Tyler Glasnow back on their pitching staff, and then they got Blake Snell back. Two starters, one in Glasnow, one in Snell. Two starters to solidify the Dodgers pitching staff, and they came in when they desperately needed the Dodgers to get on track before the postseason started. Still a bit of a clunker in the month of August for the Dodgers. They didn't do that well. And again, annoyingly, the Los Angeles Angels, a.k.a. the Anaheim Angels, I don't even know why we call them the Los Angeles Angels because they're not Los Angeles. But the Angels ended up sweeping the Dodgers again, and that was, I can't even begin to describe how annoying that is. But it kind of a clunkering August for the Dodgers, but they were able to get their reinforcements back on time. Then in the month of September, everything started to pick up in LA sports. The Rams were back into their 2025 season. They opened up the month of September 3-1. They won their first two games against the Houston Texans and then against the Tennessee Titans, but then lost a rematch of the NFC divisional matchup from the playoffs prior against the Philadelphia Eagles in a game that they blew right at the end, missed the field goal to win the game, but they bounced back with a win against the Indianapolis Colts. The Dodgers hobbled into the month of September, starting September with losing their first 5 games, but also they were able to pick up some steam and they were able to win the National League division race against the San Diego Padres, who were neck and neck with the Dodgers for a long time, but they were able to win that division, and they were able to end the month of September in a wild card matchup against the Cincinnati Reds. Now, into the month of October. The month of October was no doubt the most busiest month in all of, it's the most busiest month in all of sports, but especially in Los Angeles when you had the Dodgers and the Lakers and the Rams fully back. Starting with the Lakers in the month of October, a lot of questions to what the Lakers were going to look like on the court starting the season. They had some key additions, like I said, back in July when they brought in DeAndre Ayton and Jake LaRavia and Marcus Smart, but people really didn't know how they were going to be on the court. Were they going to be a play-in team? Were they going to be a top 3 seed like they were last season? A lot of unknowns, especially around LeBron James. Now, LeBron back in the summer, he kind of, in a very much LeBron James fashion, very much through different channels, made it known that, hey, look, through not Chris Paul, but Rich Paul, in a statement saying that they're observing the situation and LeBron is always wanting to contend for a championship. And basically, that was LeBron's way of putting the Lakers on notice that he wants the Lakers to do what it takes to win a championship. But people didn't know what LeBron's mindset was going to be coming into this season. Keep in mind that the man was going to be 41 years old this season. And so people didn't know whether this is going to be his last season or not. And for him to try to put pressure on the Lakers to do whatever it takes to win, that's not necessarily what the Lakers might have in plan, considering that now their priority now is Luka Doncic. It's no longer LeBron James. Their main priority now is Luka Doncic. And I forgot to mention back in August, Luka Doncic, he did sign an extension for 3 years. I think it's an extension for 3 years plus 1, but he can opt out. But that was the big thing going into the offseason as well. Would Luka Doncic sign an extension with the Lakers? Now, he wanted to clear up everything that he had with his prior commitments to Slovenia, his national team, in which he played Euro basketball this summer for them. He wanted to clear that up before he signed the extension, but he ultimately did back in the month of August. And with Luka signing that extension, that was him choosing the Lakers, and the Lakers were obviously going to make Luka their number one priority going forward. But people didn't know what LeBron James' mindset was going to be coming into the season. Now, LeBron James, at the beginning of the preseason, sat out all the preseason and some of the regular season with back spasms. Pretty much the first back spasm injury of his career I can really recall, especially with the Lakers. But the Lakers would open training camp, preseason, and the beginning of the regular season without LeBron James, and the Lakers did very, very well without LeBron James during that time. And the Lakers would ultimately open up the season in October 4-2 throughout that month. Now, on the other side of town with the Clippers, it was a much different story. Heading into the season, there was a lot of controversy to be at the helm of their superstar Kawhi Leonard and their ownership Steve Ballmer. Basically, we've talked about it before on this podcast, but we all know the story that dropped before the season. Pablo Torre, he did his own investigation and found that Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers may have been at fault for circumventing the salary cap through different channels. And so what that meant was that there was this company called Aspiration that was paying Kawhi Leonard to basically do no work whatsoever, zero, nada, zilch, to basically do nothing, but they were going to pay him a certain amount of money. I forget how much the money was. I think it was about $28 million, if I'm remembering right. But they were going to pay him $28 million for nothing. But people found out that the company Aspiration was also funded by Clippers owner Steve Ballmer. And so that story dropped. And whenever you have a headline story like that a team that is coming together for the beginning of the season, and yet you have a story like that, that's never going to do well for that team. Like that's pretty much going to be an omen for that team in their season. And the Clippers basically derailed their team by bringing in Bradley Beal, Brook Lopez, all these different aging stars. They even brought in Chris Paul. And now the Chris Paul story was a feel-good story because Chris Paul was a legendary Clipper. And that was a feel-good story for him to finally retire with his team that he made his name with. But by bringing in all these veteran players to go alongside Kawhi Leonard, whose injury status was always going to be in question, to bring them in alongside James Harden, who offensively he's great, but doesn't play a lick of defense anymore, and he's not a real leader on this team, nor is Kawhi Leonard, it was going to be a recipe for disaster, and this season has been ultimately a real big disaster for the Clippers. Now back to the Dodgers in the month of October, and what in October it was for the boys in blue. First, they got through that wild card series against the Cincinnati Reds very easily in 2 games, but that led them to their National League Divisional Round Series matchup against the Philadelphia Phillies, a series in which the Dodgers were the favorite, but were they really the favorite? Because the Phillies had beaten them handedly late in the regular season, so that gave a lot of people hope that the Phillies could make a little bit of noise and beat the Dodgers potentially in this divisional series. But ultimately, the Dodgers took advantage of the Phillies and were able to win this one in easy fashion in 5 games. Now that led them to the Milwaukee Brewers in the NLCS. Now, traditionally, the Dodgers have had their way with the Milwaukee Brewers in National League Series championships of the past, especially in 2018, when the last time the Brewers were in the NLCS, the Dodgers had beaten them. And the Brewers fans, they had a lot of hope coming off going into the series, because they had just were able to beat the Chicago Cubs heading into the National League Championship Series. But it wasn't to be, and the Dodgers, again, dominated the Brewers and were able to sweep them in 4 games heading into the World Series. This would be the Dodgers' 5th World Series in 8 years, and they're looking to defend their championship, their World Series championship, in which they won against the New York Yankees last season. A feat in which no other team has done in about 25 years. The Yankees were the last team to be able to win back-to-back World Series championships back in 1998 through to the year 2000. But the Dodgers were able to head into the World Series with a lot of confidence, especially with their pitching, and being 100% healthy. It stood very much in the Dodgers' favor. But they're going to be taking on the Toronto Blue Jays, a Blue Jays team that had a lot of momentum going into the World Series of their own. But a lot of people were predicting the Dodgers to win this one in maybe 5-6 games. It didn't go that way. It did not go that way. And the Toronto Blue Jays were able to take Game 1. And it was a back-and-forth series. Dodgers came back, won the next 2. But then later in that series, the Blue Jays were able to take 2 at Dodger Stadium. This one ultimately went to 7 games. And what a 7th game it was in the World Series for the Dodgers, as they were able to come from behind, down 4-3, bottom of the 9th, and the savior of this game, Miguel Rojas, coming from down bottom of the 9th with 3-4. He ties it with the solo shot. Now it's tied 4-4. The unlikeliest of heroes coming up, a guy who hadn't had a hit in a month, ties the game at the bottom of the 9th inning, and basically the Dodgers were able to take over from there. Snell comes in, shuts it down. Yamamoto comes in, shuts it down, and the Dodgers were able. It didn't look like it was possible at the beginning of that game, but they were able to win back-to-back championships in glorious fashion in Toronto, and it was really, really great for the city of Los Angeles to have, and a great moment altogether in Dodgers history. Now going back to the Rams started October with a horrible loss to the San Francisco 49ers, but they resurrected themselves in total, only losing one game in the month of October, and they were able to capitalize with the momentum, winning 6 straight right off the bat, leading them to the month of November. And for the Lakers in the month of November, it's been a mixed bag. They've had a lot of good wins, wins over some teams that are over 500, playoff caliber wins, and they've had some bad losses as well. So wins in which they looked really, really good, where the offense looks on point, defense is looking good, but there's also been a lot of games this season where the defense has not looked as good as well. LeBron James returned in mid-November, and it kind of changed the atmosphere around the team in terms of guys gelling around together. Austin Reeves had a hell of an October at the beginning of the season, but he's kind of slowed down here in November. And so now you're at a point where we're in December now, and things are kind of just picking up at back up, but we're also it's much more noticeable where holes need to be filled. Defensively, we're not really covering back on defense as much as you would want, and it's really just the personnel. We don't have the personnel really, except for guys like Marcus Smart and Jared Vanderbilt that could cover and that could switch on teams. Jared Vanderbilt was out for he was getting coaches' decisions not played, DNC PDs. And J.J. Redick is finding out who he can play in the rotation and who he cannot. But it's also apparent where things need to be addressed, and especially on the defensive end. And if he could find minutes for Jared Vanderbilt to be productive, then it's going to serve the Lakers the utmost possible way for them to do that, because Jared Vanderbilt is one of the few guys that could really play solid defense. The only thing about Jared Vanderbilt is that, hey, he can't shoot a lick. And so because he can't shoot a lick, teams are going to exploit that on defense. And so it's a mixed bag right now. A lot of good, a lot of bad. We're in the month of December now for the Lakers, and we're really just finding out who they are. They're not the tippy top of the NBA like we thought they were back in October, but they're still at that higher range in the Western Conference. So they're at a point now where it's very noticeable where their holes are at, and they're going to need, if they want to have championship aspirations this season, to get those things addressed as much as possible. And for the Rams into the month of December, it's been a lot of just winning. We had a loss against the Carolina Panthers, but I think that was a good loss for the Rams. They had just won 6 straight in a row, and now we're at a point where the playoffs are on the verge. We're on the verge of going to the playoffs here. And so we already clinched our playoff berth. Now it's just a matter of playing for seeding. And it's just about carrying momentum and staying healthy. That is the most important thing for the Rams right now, to stay healthy going into the playoffs and into January. Undoubtedly one of the best years in all of LA sports history, and I think it's going to be hard for 2026 to compete. But I think, with some of the things that we have going on and the players that we have, like Luka Doncic, Puka Nacua, and all those guys, there's going to be some noise made in 2026 for all of our LA teams. So as you guys know, I've been on a fitness journey the last several months, and as an avid CrossFitter, I'm constantly looking for different proteins to try. And I don't know about you, but I hate protein powders that have that bland, chalky taste. And that's why I'm taking the time out through today's podcast to introduce to you Clear Whey Protein Powder, a refreshing high-protein drink that transforms your post-workout routine. Crafted with pure whey protein isolate, this innovative formula offers a light and flavorful alternative to traditional protein shakes. With 0 lactose and 0 sugar, it caters to those seeking a clean, transparent approach to fitness nutrition without compromising on taste or quality. My personal favorite flavor is strawberry watermelon. It has that crisp, summertime flavor, perfect for your taste buds. But you can also try wild blue raspberry. Both are incredibly delicious. And with 20 grams of protein per serving, it's fulfilling my CrossFit needs. That's why Clear Whey Protein stands out with its crystal clear appearance and refreshing flavors, making it the perfect companion for your active lifestyle. Whether you're hitting the gym or need a protein boost during the day, this drink seamlessly integrates into your routine. And it's super easy to make. All you gotta do is just add water, mix it up a little bit, and boom, you got yourself a delicious protein drink, and say goodbye to all the bloating from all the other protein products out there. And best yet, I'm offering 20% off to listeners of today's podcast when you go to clearprotein.com. That's KLEAR protein.com. When you go to checkout, all you have to do is put in our discount code. That is LACEEMUP. That's LACEEMUP. That's code LACEEMUP when you go to checkout, and you'll get 20% off Clear Protein products. Elevate your daily protein intake with confidence and clarity. Choose Clear Whey Protein Powder and experience the difference today. There's nothing better than coming home from a long day of work, turning on the game, and having a cold beverage in hand. Just sometimes a beer doesn't cut it. And that's why I'm introducing to you today Cannabis Seltzer from shop.getgoodsfeel.com. It's a redefining refreshment with its innovative range of THC-infused beverages. Founded to offer a new era of relaxation, Good Feels crafts drinks that provide a consistent, clean, and enjoyable experience. Each product is meticulously formulated with high-quality, natural ingredients, ensuring an uplifting mood without the drawbacks of alcohol or THC consumption. Good Feels believes in the power of nature and wellness, delivering beverages that harmonize taste and tranquility. These drinks are designed for those seeking a balanced lifestyle, blending seamlessly into social gatherings, relaxing evenings, or any moment that calls for a touch of calm. Their commitment to transparency and quality is evident in every sip, making them a trustworthy choice for those looking to explore the benefits of THC as a great-tasting cannabis seltzer. Don't call me Santa Claus, but today I'm offering my listeners 20% off at checkout when you go to shop.getgoodfeels.com. Use our promo code LACEEMUP at checkout, and you can enjoy exclusive savings when you try these delicious flavors as blood orange, pineapple mango, grapefruit, or even the beverage enhancers such as lemonade and much more. Heck, even get the bundle while you're at it too. These drinks are the perfect combination for watching your LA teams. Go to shop.getgoodfeels.com. You have to be 21 plus. Alright, and to end things for today's podcast, we're going to go into our Rams report. What a statement it was for the LA Rams this past Sunday, right? Coming off a tight stretch in the NFC West, the Rams hosted the Detroit Lions at SoFi Stadium and delivered a crucial 41-34 victory that not only kept their momentum rolling, but punched their ticket to the NFL playoffs. They got that crucial game where they clinched the NFL playoffs. I believe it's the 8th time in Coach McVay's tenure in about 10 years. An unbelievable stat for Coach McVay and the Rams, considering a decade ago we were trash when they were in St. Louis. But the LA Rams trailed at halftime, but the team showed exactly why they're among the NFC's elite, behind Matthew Stafford's 368 passing yards and 2 touchdown strikes to tight end Colby Parkinson and a career-high 181 receiving yards from Puka Nacua. The Rams turned the tide in the second half. Stafford and the offense exploded, outscoring Detroit 24-10 after the break in a game where every possession mattered. And it wasn't just the offense that made plays. LA weathered a late surge from Detroit, holding off the Lions for their final push, sealing a win that officially clinches a playoff berth, the first team in the NFC to do so. But it wasn't all smooth sailing, though. Davante Adams, he exited late in the fourth quarter with a hamstring injury, and now his status for Thursday is questionable. Actually, looking at Rams.com right now, Coach McVay did say that he is listed as doubtful, so it's most likely we're not going to see him in our Thursday night matchup against Seattle. Defensive end Brandon Fisk also left with an ankle injury, and McVay did say that he is questionable, leaving the door open to a game-time decision for both him and Adams on Thursday. But yes, I keep saying it, this Thursday we are in Seattle versus the Seahawks, and it's a Thursday night primetime game, and it's such an important game because it also breaks a two-way tie in the NFC West, and it's basically whoever wins this game, and in my opinion, is going to take control of the NFC West. And not only that, you still have the Bears and the Eagles looking far back into the entire NFC standings, and the Rams being able to win this game, and basically the Rams are in control of their destiny right now. So if they win out, they're going to take control of the entire NFC standings. But if they lose, that leaves the door open for these other teams to creep in and take home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But no doubt it's going to be an exciting game Thursday evening, and can't wait to watch it. Vamos Rams. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for today's podcast. I want to thank you guys for listening in. Next week we're going to have our yearly predictions. I'm going to try and make it like a yearly predictions at like the end of the year type thing. You know, that'll be kind of an exciting tradition for this podcast. But I want to thank you guys for listening in today. I really appreciate you guys. And thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.